marginalized and underrepresented Hijra community in Bangladesh, being skilled in order to pursuing social and economical empowerment. Transend has also worked for various recruitment programs of transgender and Hijra community of Bangladesh. Could we go on to Behal?
RutuChakra is a youth-run organization working to achieve menstrual equity and dignity through action, awareness, and advocacy. Our mission is to empower menstruators by providing menstrual products to those in need, increasing access to education, promoting an open and inclusive conversation, and creating a period-positive society. The period-positive movement aims to destigmatize and normalize menstruation by dispelling the shame associated with it. The idea that womanhood and menstruation are innately linked is untrue. Transgender men and non-binary people menstruate too. The place of trans community as equal participants in the menstrual experience, the challenges that come with it, as well as accessing safe and hygienic menstrual health facilities is often a taboo topic and is majorly neglected. The term transgender includes individuals whose gender identity doesn't conform to the gender they were assigned at birth. Their feelings of embarrassment, alienation, and exclusion are a lot worse as their menstrual issues are rarely, if ever, recognized as legitimate. There exists a gender ambiguity in India in almost every social, political, and legal sphere, further worsening the scenario. The trans community has often questioned the woman-centric approach to menstruation and has often voiced its concern about its invisibility. RutuChakra, being a menstrually inclusive organization, hopes to change this very narrative, starting with this webinar.
I would like to welcome two of our very important individuals. Having them as panelists today is amazing. Introducing Sadhya Pawar from India. His preferred pronouns are he, him. He is currently running a program which aims to make a better future for the trans community with specific agendas, saying parents counseling, surgery-related help, documents, legal help, anything that makes the society a better place for the trans community. Again, we have Zohan Aras Khan, identifying as trans man. Preferred pronouns are also he, him. He is from Bangladesh and currently working as an editorial head of Transend, also a part of Put a Period and a member of Inclusion X. Moving forward, so Sadhya and Zohan, I would like to start with a topic saying gendering periods. So as we all know that gender does not actually mean sex and sex does not mean gender, which boils down to the fact that having a vagina does not make you a girl, or having testicles does not make you a boy either. Periods are messy, stressful, and painful, but what it is not is feminine. There are women who menstruate and there are menstruators who are not women. Periods are not the center of a woman's identity. Menstruators are actually a more inclusive terms of our trans and non-binary folks. With around 10K individuals falling under the umbrella term of transgender in Bangladesh, menstruation is completely avoided. There are no specific health care benefits that the state has to offer for them, which is a very saddening fact. Moving forward to questions, I would like to throw a question like, what struggles do menstruators or trans menstruators, if I specific, face in public? Can we have the answer from Sadhya Pawar, please?
First of all, thank you for organizing this session. It will definitely help us to people, make them understand that we are also struggling with like no access in the public, or we are helping to explain our exact problem when we are mature or we are in those days. We always face issues in the public place, like we don't have don't access in either men's washroom or female washroom. We are stuck up like in 7 to 8 hours to change our pad. We find out the place where we can change our napkins or find out the place. So first of all, there is no access when we are traveling either out of city or the internal city, because basically people don't understand our identity. They are not ready to accept us. First of all, they're a big taboo, I can say, that we are. I mean, if I say about talk about myself, I'm right now I'm completely I'm completely look like a man. So uh, that means people are really not getting me if I'm trying to explain them that my problem is like my specific problem, like I'm in those days when I really need someone to talk or someone help to access washroom or to get in and get in some I can say that way. So that was very big embarrassment I faced. You cannot ask someone that I need napkin first. I need to access anyone's washroom. So yeah, I do face this problem since my transitions are different.
Amazing. Could we hear from Zohan as well on this same topic? Zohan, could you hear me?
I'm so sorry. So thank you so much for having me. And about the public issue, I'd like to clarify that I haven't yet publicly came out, or not even to my family, but I do relate to the discrimination trans menstruators can face. Like even when it's a personal issue, but even when I had short hair or like tried to dress boyish or in a masculine way, but which doesn't make sense, my loved ones or family members would like vent out their emotions as if I've broken a holy rule, a golden rule that and their first concern was, why would you act like a boy when you are bleeding every month, when soon enough you marry a man and have children and be a mother. That's their only issue. And it's and this is a problem on so many levels. Like first of all, linking reproductive health only to motherhood, and then there's like the gendering part. Like my uterus or my biological body is just reduced to that. That's all it is. Yeah. Thank you.
Moving forward to our second question about including the transgender or non-binary folks or anything other than the cisgender people of our society. Um, as we all know that our society is still not very acceptable of other gender terms. Could ask Zohan and Sadhya both that if you face any kind of embarrassment, inclusion, or even exclusion or discrimination regarding trans menstruation, if so, could you please share your experience with us? Zohan could start.
Thank you. As I like mentioned earlier about my embarrassment, is no matter how much I would try to explain my identity to them, they are deeply rooted into this one belief that the genitals or the sex we are assigned at birth is the final verdict. And you can't change that. No matter how you dress, no matter how you identify yourself, you're just that. And speaking of women, like speaking of gender, I think it's like uh, really wrong that women are just reduced upon menstruation, because not all women do menstruate. There are women with PCOS and other problems. So yeah, that's one thing. Like, we trans men, it takes a lot for us to come in terms with ourselves. So when you get reminded again and again that just because you're bleed, you are not a man. You can't be a man. That's the final verdict. That's so, and I can't even think of like publicly going through that horror. That's my experience for now. Thank you.
Sadhya, could you share your experience on that?
As Johan mentioned, yes, totally agree with you, brother. Because we every day started like I started my morning to make my sister understand that please call me right pronunciation. I make my parents, make them understand that right now, you can see myself, right? You can look at me, look at me and talk to me. Like, I look like a man right now, but they are not ready to accept us. So these are nowadays also we are facing the same issues. So I don't know how people, how will happen and when it will happen that people will definitely accept our identity, they respect us as we are giving them. So yes, we every day and every minute we face either from family or outsider, but we do face discrimination every level, every minute. So it's a very long journey, I think, to make everything and make them understand that we are facing this whole issue as well. Like, I'm taking hormones externally, right? So I'm also having mood swings uh, on a very or very having anxiety and talk to people. I feel really embarrassed when they look at me and talk to me like a girl. So it's beginning from the that look, and after that, I'm really feel like we are helpless. We cannot make them understand that we also. This is very personal issue. Very private issue that we make them understand that people I do menstruate, or hey guy, I really facing an issue in RutuChakra days. So I don't know, but we are still struggling.
That's really sad that we still have to, that you trans people or even non-binary people have to still face that problem, not being accepted just as who they are. Coming to the fact of menstruation, menstrual hygiene is a very big part. With menstrual hygiene, we have various kinds of products that help us, and we can use to get through the totally normal biological process. Coming to the menstrual hygiene thing, most advertisements are marketed towards cisgender women and portray menstruation in one particular way. Even several policies, educational material, etc., concerning sex education are not inclusive of transgender and non-binary individuals. Zohan, could you portray your thoughts on that?
Yes, I'd love to. First, I'd start talking about our education and curriculum, and I'd say that like our curriculum is strongly affected by our religious and cultural views, or maybe I should say like the ignorance as a society we hold. It's like meshed upon our curriculum for ages, and there haven't been progressive movement for that. That sex is binary, male and female, but as a matter of fact, both sex and gender are a spectrum. Like, there are intersex people born with ambiguous genitalia or any chromosomal trait. And then there's the topic of gender, which is totally a spectrum. And speaking of transgender people, people whose gender identity do not match with the sex assigned at birth. But no one knows for sure what the terms intersex and transgender stand for. And here is where the problem is. We grow up with this education. We grow up with this mindset. Like, if our religion, our education, our policies, even media plays a big role here, and it kind of like cultivates our mindset, our thought process. That's how we take everything as for normal. And so when we grow up learning this, and then we make policies on policies, and all of our our constitution, every law, every policy for every aspect of life, it's centering the binary male and female notion. So think of it this way: when you need to get access to good medical health care, suppose you have a very serious reproductive health problem, but you do not but you are not legally recognized by your own country, then how would you access a proper birth certificate that has your preferred name, actual name, and your gender? And if you can get into that birth certificate, you can get access to medical treatment how you want to. And and as a part of birth certificate, there comes another set of registries and all that policy work. You are not legally recognized by the country, so who's gonna save you or who's gonna protect you? You are violated from your basic rights, human rights. Even in you need to earn money to live, and you can't get the job you want to because of your identity. Each aspect is linked with one another. Then the root problem is our education system. That grows into all of these throughout the society. So if I don't have a particular a law supporting me, I can't get medical support. I can't even period products need to be need money. I need money to buy period products, and I need a secret job. I need a secret place to live. I need every one of that. I deserve security. So yeah, I'd say we need to start everyone from every aspect of government officials to every NGO worker. Everyone needs to include and aware about these issues all around the world. And that's how we're gonna grow, because as I said, it roots into our education system. And that's how we're gonna get into a progressive, inclusive society. We need to break our definition of normal. We need to think more. And only that could I even forgot saying that even though there are some steps taken by the government, they might seem progressive, but there are loopholes in it, because they centered they created an option other than the binary male and female, but termed it as only hijra. But that's not even a gender identity, that's the community. So where would the other trans men, trans women, non-binary people I don't know, go for voting rights, go for their birth certificate and every other right? Yeah. Thank you so much. That's all I have to say.
I completely agree. I can't even imagine how much bad it would feel not being included in a society when you actually exist as an individual. Moving on to buying menstrual products, Sadhya, could you share some experience about how if you have any obstacles that while buying menstrual products, which are completely adorned in feminine hygiene or as girls' products?
I can say I always take a help in someone's in my group or in someone who are my friends. So I rarely go to medical or anywhere to take that product, because it's make me more feel embarrassment or uncomfort. I can say it's a really small word for you, that it's uncomfort, but it's very big terms if you can understand from my side, that I am not ready to take that, and I was in totally feel embarrassment when I go there or ask for a napkin or anything, any product which is feminine. So it feels really embarrassment, and it's biggest. I think it's really started break down me for those days. So, yeah, that's all.
Yes, I totally can understand. Zohan, I have a question for you, which is that how do you, being a part of the transgender community yourself, how do you think that menstruators should be termed as, or how should we address them?
Thank you. I believe menstruators should be just termed as it is, people who menstruate, and not link with and not link it with women or a woman issue. So like there has been a misunderstanding that many women thought that trans people being a part, like um, um, trans women asking for a more inclusive term kind of is violating for them. But this is actually a misunderstanding, because the point of view we come from is that our genitals do not define who we are, and menstruation is like a reproductive, it's a part of our reproductive system and all that. So like if you say that, you're going to violate all the other cis female who do not menstruate, right? People have different issues. Women polycystic ovarian syndrome. You're going to balance. That's one thing. And yes, it should be termed as it is. Menstruate, and every needs to get the proper support, medical support.
Yes, Zohan, we heard you. Moving on to the facts that are more saddening for the obstacles that the transgender community faces. One of them is gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is the distress a person feels due to a mismatch between their gender identity and their sex assigned at birth. According to American Psychiatric Association, the critical element of gender dysphoria is clinically significant distress. Um, we can talk a brief on dysphoria, but I would like to hear from our panelists. Um, Dysphoria is different for each trans person, and it's valid for each. How would you describe your experience with menstruation along with dysphoria, and what are the stances that made you feel the worst? Sadhya, could you talk on that?
Yes, I can. Basically, I believe that dysphoria is really not right terms for me. I mean, this is what I am. This is the way I am. So it is. It cannot be. I can say this is a dysphoria. Okay. So first of all, it is. I feel more dysphoric about the people that they are look at us like we are having a dysphoria. When I doesn't feel when I came out, people do ask me that, tell me what age you come out to your parents or come out to your sibling or friends or anyone. So I said I never come out to anyone any day. I come out to myself when I was born. When I was look at, I mean, when I while I'm growing up, you know, it's really difficult for me to make them understand that. Can you please tell me? Could you please explain me when you feel that you are a man? If man is asking to me, then I feel I do ask them that, brother, please tell me that when you feel that you're a boy or you're a correct person, who you are, right? You are, I mean, you're blessed to have a comfort body, but I maybe I'm not that much lucky, or I can say I am very strong more than you. That I can be comfortable in my body after some time, but I will. So I think dysphoria is something like this for me. So, and menstruations, I mean, I believe that when I was, first time when I was bleeding and I was completely, uh, feeling very, I can say, very bad or something weird that I am, I mean, how can I? If I feel myself that I'm man, and man cannot, uh, when I was child, my mama used to teach me that you will some of day you will definitely have this problem, or face this problem. But when I was very strong that I will definitely, I'm not going to bleed any of day, but it happened, and it feel it feel weird for me. I mean,
Understandable completely. Zohan, would you like to add on that? Do we have Zohan with us?
Yes, I was having some net problems. I'm back here. Thank you so much, Sadha. You were inspiring, really, my brother. So yes, about dysphoria, I'd like to say that I try not to. I try my best to think that my genitals, or like as Sadha said, what I was born with, I was born a boy, and those genitals or like reproductive organs do not define me. I tried that, but like being reminded that menstruation is taken just as a woman issue, it hurts. Like it kind of makes you dysphoric, like as in a social dysphoria, it makes you dysphoric. And one thing I'd say that I didn't know how to express this, but like as in making myself seem more man, or seem as in to like pass as a man, which shouldn't be a thing. I like along with period, like your PMS or premenstrual syndrome, it can make your body really sensitive. And like we as men tend to be big things for us. My chest is actually the biggest thing in case of dysphoria, and it gets very hard to like do chest binding when you're having PMS syndromes and all that. And along with that, the social dysphoria that I talked about, like I'm not man enough, and I just feel like I have this I don't know, face, like I'm delusional, I am wrong, I'm just faking it for attention, I do not know who I am, I'm a girl, and that's why I bleed. That's I keep telling myself. It's like an identity crisis, and it takes a toil on my mental health. That's how I see my dysphoria. That's all I have to say.
I am amazed by the amount of inspiration I am getting, and I think everyone who is a participant in this meeting must agree with me. Moving on to the resources. Accessing to the resources, most doctors, clinicians, healthcare workers are unaware of the trans community and their need for standard of life. Seeking medical help for any health-related problems is a battle for a transgender individual. Sadhya, as you have come out as a trans man publicly, or you have now completely transformed physically to I am sorry if correct me if I'm wrong, but you completely look like a man. So did you take any medical help regarding menstrual health? And if you did, how was it?
as I mentioned that I had faced previously a problem of UTI, so it was because of, no access for urinary, no access for outside any washroom. So yes, I had multiple time I faced that UTI problem, and it was just because of these no access of, I mean, these I never get any access for washroom. So I can say medical help I had taken for those problems, and doctor was completely. I mean, they are look like they are look at me like I'm no one. I am just uh, like new case, or I'm they are looking at me like, uh, please tell me more about a transgender person. I mean, they even not aware about my identity. I was completely shocked that doctor. I mean, how could you? ask me like this. You should know, doctors should know this. They should have this in their syllabus, their curriculum, that there are also male to female or female to male persons. They're also surviving. They're also battling. They're trying. They're struggling for doctors' help. For medical help. Of course, we do face many problems with the doctors. Sometimes doctors do not aware about transgender person, or sometimes they do not understand our medical problems. They are not ready to touch us or check us. They even not ready to touch and, I mean, mm, take it me seriously, or my problem. They 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 just ask me what happened, what exactly you're feeling, and they just prescribe me something, and that's it. That's whole theory what I was still I'm facing. Yes, I had done my physical transition long time back, but right now when I go to normal, like clinic, or any small, I can say, any of MBBS doctor, or they don't know about uh, the transgender person's problems. Basically, they don't know anything about. They just uh, look at me like a hydra, or they treat me like a hydra. They just prescribe me and medicines, and they even not ready to touch us. That's it. That's whole scenario I have facing right now. After transitions, also I'm facing the same.
Something so
So I
basic
can
as
understand that Zuhan.
continue.
Yeah, I mean, uh, I can understand from Zuhan's word that, of course, in India, here we are having a trans right. We are having right now a public, I mean, open transgender person as an inspiration or as a brand ambassador here. So I can totally, uh, I mean, uh, understood that in Bangladesh there are many friends of mine who are facing lot of many problems. I mean, more than India.
Yes. What I was saying was something so basic as having health related help, or even something just as basic. It's like seriously so saddening to hear experiences from such inspirational individuals facing such problems for something so something so just as normal as a biological process. Um, as we all know that with periods come various kind of symptoms that also include emotional aspects, or being emotional during the um, whole time of the month. Zohan, could you share your insights on into the emotional aspects during the time of your periods, or like what goes through your mind?
Yes, of course. I'd try to make it like as short as possible. I'd first start saying that all I have in my mind right now is that it took me, and I know it took most, like all of us trans people, to accept ourselves at first. It takes a lot of time, not because we don't want to accept, but because what the thoughts and everything we are fed, everything we're said, everything we're made to listen and just tolerate. That's what makes it hard for us to come in terms with ourselves. Because I mean, I would like, if I come from a religious point of view, I in my priority in case of my thought process was my religious views and my cultural views, and I grew up learning that you must not change yourself. You have to love and live the way you were born. You cannot change yourself. It's a test for you. You have to live the way others live. That's it. So yeah, it to me it felt like I'm evil. It felt like I'm evil, like, and me transitioning or me being this would just cause problems to my family. And yeah, I know there's a term for this, transphobia, when you can't really accept what you're feeling. And that's what it feels like why would I make my family suffer for what I'm going through? It's just easy. I can just pretend being myself. That's, I guess, easier than my mother and father crying every night and saying that they wish they died than rather give birth to me because what they've made here. And I'm not even like publicly out to them. I just like tried to change my appearance. And I know it take time for them to accept. And I do have like some people who made me come here, my sisters and my friends. I do have that, but most people don't have that. So yeah, it's really hard. Even though the people I mentioned are supported me, it took me a lot of time of, I don't know, consideration to actually tell them what I feel, because I felt it's so wrong. It's evil and it's so wrong. How can that be me? That's one fact. And yeah, and things, and talking about periods, things so linked with being a female, being so it feels so wrong that like when a child first gets the period, they should be taught like the natural biology process, like how it happens, why it happens, all that. But there are children who are told that, great, you're having a period, that means you can be a mother one day. I've heard it myself. But and there are trans men who give birth. I'm not talking about that, but like we shouldn't really focus on period being I don't know, a step of a journey to motherhood. We shouldn't just link with that, because motherhood is a choice. All that. So I'm just going in different places, but that was my emotional planes. That I am not this. I was just delusional. I think I don't know where I was actually. Okay. Thank you.
Everyone who's in the meeting, I think everyone will agree with me on the fact that to truly form a respectful society, we must include every individual that exists. Uh, Transgender inclusive society is just as important. I think every individual should be approached as a person, as a human being, without having any preconceptions. And I think to make that society as inclusive towards transgenders, I think we hold the utmost power. Um, on that, um, as we are leaving our thoughts on periods, what do you guys think on period friendly washrooms? Like, how can workplaces be more inclusive in their approach, and what struggles do trans menstruators face in public regarding period friendly washrooms, or not having or facing stairs as they look like a man or do not, you know what I mean. Thank you. Could we start from Zohan?
Hi. So I talk about this. I'm just gonna state it at first. I'm going to talk about this in a general sense, since I haven't used public bathrooms as a menstruator, like as a man. So with one workshop with Put a Period, which I'm a part of, and Transend, I had to research on like trans men using the bathroom, and it's horrifying. Like the experiences we mentioned earlier, think of that in case of a washroom. And like think of it this way, menstruation is a big taboo. Like it's is a big taboo. Like where is the debate about it? What does men have to do with it? And then trans people are also stigmatized. They are weirdos. They're not normal. And have your trans people who are menstruating. So like you can just imagine the horrific scene when a man would like take a period product in a washroom, or like dispose it or anyhow. You could just you could just imagine the horrific, like the bullying or everything that can come with it. And like as part of that research, there are trans people who were beaten, assaulted in washrooms because other people found out their identity. And yeah, that's what I have to talk about, public washrooms. But yes, change is here. I hope is here. And yeah, and if I'm going to talk about like medical healthcare workers, as Sadhya said, that doctors are not trained in a trans-centric way. They are not aware of the health of a trans person. They are not. And even in US, like it's saying like 1 in 5 people were refused treatment because of their identity. Like imagine that horror. So yeah, that's all I have to say. And that was in US, okay, where like the policies are much more progressive than us. So yeah, you don't.
So we heard it from Zohan. Sadhya, could you explain it? How is it in India for you?
As Johan mentioned, yes, totally. I mean, same situation facing here also. I mean, we all are facing here, and I personally never try to access any of public washrooms. Believe me, and that's why I had faced issue of UTI, and multiple time I had faced that because we never do that, and in those periods, I never try to go outside. So definitely, I completely agree with Zohan. There are very it's kind of एक डर बैठ गया है दिमाग में कि नहीं जाना है public washroom में. That's what.
Satya, could you explain as to how you see it how you see transmenstruation being stigmatized? Why is it important for people to be educated on this topic?
Can I can I speak in Hindi right now because it's very important to deliver my
Yeah,
intention properly. Yeah,
completely.
yeah. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अब तक जितने भी लोग जानते हैं जैसे कि एक टैग है बंधा हुआ कि मेंस्ट्रुएशन सिर्फ फीमेल करती है तो इसी वजह से हमें बहुत सारा स्टिग्मा या डिस्क्रिमिनेशन फेस करना पड़ता है सोसाइटी में इसी वजह से हमें काफी सारे हेल्थ रिलेटेड इश्यूज या प्रॉब्लम फेस करने पड़ते हैं तो ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है कि एवरी इंडिविजुअल्स इन इंडिया और इन एवरीवेयर सबको पता होना चाहिए कि ट्रांसजेंडर्स आर देयर हु डू मेंस्ट्रुएट यू नो क्योंकि हम नैपकिन चेंज नहीं कर पाते ऋतुचक्र के टाइम पे हमें उस वजह से स्किन प्रॉब्लम्स hygiene problems मतलब there are multiple problems we face in those days we try to suicide because of we are not getting access of washroom just because of not access there are multiple suicide happens this is shame of I mean everyone कि आपको ये इतना मतलब इस छोटी सी चीज के लिए अगर कोई सुसाइड करे आपके कंट्री में तो शेम आपको एक गलती या एक आपको शेम फील होना चाहिए यार इतनी छोटी सी चीज है जो आप डिलीवर नहीं कर पा रहे हो जो आप सोसाइटी को दे नहीं पा रहे हो वी टॉक लॉट्स ऑफ अबाउट वुमेन्स वॉशरूम्स उनकी सेफ्टी ये इसके बारे में बहुत सारी बातें हो चुकी है वी डिस्कस अ लॉट एट एवरी पैनल एज अ वुमन आई आल्सो डिड दैट बिफोर माय ट्रांजिशन बिकॉज एक डर बैठ गया था कि मैं कम आउट होके बात करूंगा तो वो हो नहीं पाएगा before that I tried my best to make people aware that there are trans women as well who want to use their washrooms who want to use women's washroom as well so there should be one gender neutral washroom as well there handicap के लिए washroom बन जाता है but gender neutral क्यों नहीं बन सकता why not so this is very important वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्योंकि ये छोटी सी इशू के वजह से प्रॉब्लम की वजह से लोग सुसाइड कर रहे हैं या लोग उनकी लाइफ टाइम यूटीआई लाइक यूटीआई लाइक स्किन इन्फेक्शन unhygiene. There are multiple problems. And even मेरे पास कोई gynecologist नहीं है जिससे जाके discuss करूँ, where I can discuss my issue, where I can explain them. There are no one to hear me, to understand my problems. They are not ready to. First of all, as a transgender person, I am not ready to speak about my private things to any doctors, without any confidence. क्योंकि मुझे उसके लिए काफी सारे रेफरेंस ढूंढने पड़ते हैं कि who are LGBT friendly doctors or who are trans friendly doctor. I have to find out first. I have to collect the data from my community, and in while those collecting, अगर मुझे कुछ हो गया या प्रॉब्लम बड़ी हो गई तो इसका मतलब है यार मैं तो लाइफ टाइम एक हैंडीकैप बन के रह जाऊंगा ना. तो सोसाइटी को इसके बारे में सोचना चाहिए कि वो बिकॉज वी आर वन ऑफ देम. We are someone's daughters, we are someone's sons, we are someone's siblings, we are someone's sisters, we are one of them. So they should think about us. They should know about us.
So, everyone who is watching this right now, I myself could, feel the words of Satya, like talking about mental health or committing suicide at the end of your realizations, because that is the only thought that leaves your mind, because you just cannot be yourself, even being born in a society that should accept you just as you are. You are not being able to be who you are. That's sad. And I think, as Zohan mentioned before, that hope is still here. I really really hope that things get better, and we are gonna be working for that. Moving on to questions, as we are talking about problems, how could we solve this? What can individuals do? And by individuals, I mean from the from the very start, saying family, community, employers, or even government officials can do or to create a safe and comfortable space for all the genders in the menstrual sphere. Zohan, would you share your insights on that?
Of course. As I mentioned earlier, it actually kind of roots back to our education system, and to defy that, to actually make an education system out of the system, we need to open our mind as to what we define as normal. And what would be the steps? I would say this live webinar we are having today, this is a step. This is a way to make people aware, to make people know that we exist, and that our struggles are as valid as possible. This is a step. And this is what we need to keep on doing. We, everyone who are present here, you need to, it's okay if it's all new to you, or it's way a polar idea to what you've been known all this time. It's okay. You just have to think without prejudice for once. Let yourself learn, let yourself see the differences. We are men, but with a different body, not a wrong one, a different body. And yeah, everyone who's present here, if you could share what you have learned with someone else today, even if that person gets all, I don't know, angry that no, it's not the right thing, it still works. Initiating that conversation still works, even though they don't agree with it. And that conversation will lead to another conversation, and it will go on. We need to share this. We need to talk. We need to talk more. We need to include this, even to children. The children are taught, a little kid is taught to hate a hijra people. They're just the bad effects are, the bad sides are just pointed out to them, and they grow up hating that person. And they grow up thinking women are weak. They grow up thinking men have that power. They grow up in this patriarchal society with that thinking. So yes, we need to teach children like what being an intersex person is, what being a transgender person is, what's wrong, what are policies, and everything about that. Yeah, it should be in our education system. And and more so, like as I said, include literature by trans people or people from the LGBT community in libraries, because literature plays a huge part. Trans people aren't new. There's history, there's lots of history we need to know. Even the Pride movement was started by a trans woman of color. But we people need to know that. And then in every aspect, like let their voices be heard. Include them in news channels, include their voices in news outlets and magazines and all that. Even if a person shows courage and like comes to social media to talk about the issues they face, they are bombarded with hate speeches. They're told to die. And death of LGBTQ people around like these South Asian countries isn't something new. I mean, it doesn't even surprise us, like as it would happen anyway. Like even like I talk about a friend who's a trans man, and he wanted to seek justice for domestic violence. And someone asked like, what's your problem? So like he answered that I'm beaten for my identity. I am physically abused every day for who I am. And the and he got many responses, and they were, well, you kind of deserve it. I mean, how would you expect your parents to write on accept you? You kind of deserve it. That was what the response was on a kid. So yes, I'd say we need to break down our definition of normal. We need to learn and share. We need to talk.
With that, I think our live session is almost coming to an end. I would like to end by asking Sadhya to talk about uh, anything, a message you, Sadhya and Zohan, following Zohan, any message to other menstruators or even the individuals who are watching with us.
I only can say everyone that please people grow up and accept everyone's with a respect. That's it.
Zohan, would you like to add?
Yes, all our ad is for all the trans people who are valid. You bleed or not, you are valid. And for the trans woman, you are woman, and it doesn't matter if you bleed or not. And every non-binary and gender non-copying person, I'm proud of you. And everyone who menstruates, I'm proud of everyone who menstruates and is fighting for menstrual and reproductive rights. Thank you.
So guys, we are almost coming to an end. I would like to thank both of our panelists, Sadhya Pawar and Zohan Aras Khan, for giving us time from their busy schedules and joining us for such a great cause. Everyone who was watching, thank you so much. I hope everyone had a good time learning some facts about our society that helps us create a better one. Thank you.
With that, we would like to open the floor to any questions that any of the audience members may have. So if you have any questions surrounding transmenstruation or any of the experiences that both Sadia as well as Zohan have, please do feel free to unmute yourself and ask them the question. Till then, I'm just going to start off by asking one of the questions that was very popular on our Instagram stories, etc., that both RutuChakra as well as Transend had put up, which is one, what can individuals do? What can individuals in terms of families, communities, employees, government officials, etc., do to create a safe and comfortable sphere for all genders in the menstrual space? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, you were audible.
Okay, great. So the question was, what can individuals, I think as in even the people who are listening right now, what can they do to support trans menstruators and create a safe and comfortable space for all genders in the menstrual sphere? Um, I mean, anyone, Zohan or Sadeh, whoever would want to take this question, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm going ahead, if that's okay. Um, People need to realize, and we need to talk more about menstruation. Need to realize that menstruation is not just a woman issue, not even just a like personal issue. It's not a personal issue. Menstruation was termed as a humanitarian crisis in 2014 by World Health Organization for how much it's neglected and and all the problems it leads to. So we need to talk about menstruation, and not just as a whispering way, not just as like it bleeds, yeah, and all that and feels. We need to talk about um, like the biology behind it, as far as like, yeah, we need to talk about period leave. We need to talk about period poverty. Like period leave is like for working menstruators, people who menstruators who work, there are even cases like endometriosis or dysmenorrhea, which causes extremely painful period. You are not able to work. You are not even able to get up from your bed. So period leave, paid or unpaid, is an important issue. But we are not even like ready to talk about that. And then there's the topic of period poverty. Like we most people from India and Bangladesh, I'd say most menstruators do not have access to like an actual hygienic way of taking care of themselves when they're menstruating. Most menstruators use cloth rags, which are like hidden in dark, damp spaces, because like they're forbidden for other people to see, and like bacteria grow on them that leads to infections and so much and so on. Like, can you imagine a country where most menstruators go through painful infections just because they had to hide their rag? I mean, it's insane. It's like Sudha says, it's a shame on us that we couldn't make it possible. Like it should be distributed. Even yes, it should be distributed freely for young menstruators who are just learning, and to teach them how to properly take care of them. And then comes the idea of inclusion. As I said, like education. From education, we need to talk about gender issues. Gender studies should be something we talk about. Like as we like have home economics issues, only term for girls, agriculture issues only term for boys. We have all that, but we never question that. But we question a simple biological process. We question how we are born as and everything. So that's something we need to really work on. And for the all the people who are present here, as I said before, like talk about it. Talk about it, that it is as natural as it gets. There's no shame about it.
Yes, definitely. I think we all resonated with your message very much. And you're right, in order to truly achieve menstrual equity, it's so important for us to achieve menstrual inclusivity first. And like you mentioned before, we are referring to addressing people who menstruate as well, people who menstruate or menstruators themselves, instead of specifying it as girls or women and gendering this process. I think we have a question from Miss Lakshmi Murthy. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a comment really. I'm going to be 60 in a few months, and I'm so ashamed that I didn't know so much about all this. Since the past 2-3 years, there has been a buzz about these issues, and I'm quite ashamed of myself really, because I've been in the menstrual space from late 90s, and really I've been so ignorant. It's only 3-4 years ago that I understood that there are these other aspects to menstruation that I had not even I just didn't know. So I just want to apologize for, the way all of us are. I just want to apologize for not even, I don't know, just I'm feeling terrible. So anyway, so my next thing is that can this session be done in Hindi for same even my organization or other groups that are working in the area of menstruation, because largely the conversations get restricted to it doesn't reach uh, it doesn't reach the field. मतलब जो हम यहाँ बातें कर रहे हैं अगर मेरे टीम थोड़ी सी अवेयर है यस, बट अगर हम कम्युनिटी से जाके अगर हमको बात करनी है हिंदी में मटेरियल हमको चाहिएगा, तो क्या ये हो सकता है, उपलब्ध हो सकता है?
Yes, definitely. Please do email us. I think I've put in 2 email IDs, which is RutuChakra@gmail.com and transend111@gmail.com. So please do email us if you want to conduct this event, like this webinar in Hindi as well, or spread more awareness on transmenstruation. We would love, like our organizations would love to help you out in any way possible, because we are all really trying to make sure that we can create this safe and comfortable space within the menstrual sphere for all trans menstruators and achieve menstrual equity. So do send in your request to both of our email IDs and we will definitely get back to you and look into it.
Hello.
Yes.
This is Meenakshi. Yeah, I don't have a question, but I would definitely agree with Miss Lakshmi Murthy. Can I just share one of my experiences? Okay, so I got my periods when I was very young. I was in 3rd grade and I got it, and it was, it was such a big deal in the house, and I felt like I was a garbage. There's a rule that you if you're like having periods, you're not supposed to go near the god and all those things. But it's not. It doesn't end to that. It just you just don't be here. Thoda dur chale jao and all those things. You understand, right? It's like a little. You don't feel like it, and then I kind of regret that. Why do we even have this? Because I feel like, what is this? Why is it happening? Why am I like treated as garbage these 3 to 4 days? Which that's what I wanted to say. And the worst part is, like, I know why we Indians specifically we disgustingly whisper it, so like as Zohan has said that we discuss it so softly. Acha, isko ye hua hai, acha, isko wo hua hai. I don't know, it's something normal, guys. It's part of the nature, it's part of your body, and it's nothing bad in it. So I totally agree with Zohan, and I'm really, I'm privileged to work with RutuChakra and be a part of this webinar. Thank you, guys. And I was also not aware of this transmenstruation, so I'm pretty aware, and thank you.
I also want to, sorry, I'm just jumping in again. Is there some terminology in Hindi? इसके लिए हिंदी क्या हो सकता है?
Zohan or Sadhya, would you like to please take this question?
Oh, sorry, मेरे क्वेश्चन समझा नहीं हूँ. हिंदी for what?
हाँ, मैं कह रही हूँ कि हाँ, माहवारी तो हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं, तो अगर ट्रांसमेंस्ट्रुएशन बोलते हैं तो करेक्ट शब्द क्या होगा उसके लिए?
ट्रांसमैन को अगर आप, माहवारी इज अ कॉमन वर्ड, मतलब वो तो चल जाएगा, बट ट्रांसमैन को आप क्या कहना चाहोगे? मतलब लाइक ट्रांसमैन एक मेडिकल टर्म्स है. अगर आप मुझे कहोगे कि मैं कौन हूँ, तो मैं एक मेल ही हूँ, यही कहूंगा. तो मतलब लाइक मैं कहूंगा कि एक मेल की ब्लीडिंग, मतलब क्या कहूंगा, मर्दानी ऋतुचक्र डेज, और पता नहीं एग्जैक्टली कैसे एक्सप्लेन करूं, बट सिर्फ आपको मेल आगे मेल मेंशन करना होगा, दैट्स इट. मतलब आपको अगर डिफाइन करना है कि एक मेल पर्सन को भी हो सकता है महावारी, तो आप सिर्फ आगे मेल मेंशन कर दीजिए. आई थिंक दैट्स इनफ.
नहीं, वो
बेसिकली
तो
ट्रांस
पुरुष को हम कहते
जी
हैं, लेकिन
जी
ट्रांस के लिए कोई शब्द है क्या हिंदी में, ट्रांस के लिए? या अगर नहीं है तो हमको बनाना पड़ेगा, हमको बनाना होगा,
बिल्कुल
है ना?
नहीं,
तो
ट्रांस के लिए अभी तक
कलेक्ट, हाँ, अभी क्योंकि जैसे कई शब्द अंग्रेजी में होता है और वो हिंदी में उसकी ऑल्टरनेट या एग्जैक्ट शब्द नहीं होता है. जैसे झूठा शब्द जो
जी
हिंदी में है, तो उसके लिए अंग्रेजी
जी
निकालना बहुत मुश्किल है. तो इसी तरह से मैं सोच रही थी कि अगर
जी
हिंदी का कुछ अगर हो जाए, हिंदीकरण हो जाए, मतलब भविष्य के लिए सोच
जी
सकते हैं ना.
बिल्कुल.
अगर नहीं हो पाए तो आप हिंदी और इंग्लिश दोनों को मिला के टाइटल बना सकते हो, अगर हमें नहीं शब्द मिले तो.
सॉरी, क्या कहा आपने?
मैंने बोला कि वो जो आप लोग शब्द के लिए सोच रहे हो, अगर वो नहीं मिले प्रॉपर हिंदी वर्ड, तो आप इंग्लिश और हिंदी दोनों को भी मिला के कर सकते हो.
हाँ बिल्कुल, यस. हाँ, बट आई थिंक देयर इज अ वर्ड, बट आई रियली डिडंट रिमेम्बर राइट नाउ. मतलब मुझे जस्ट
है
वो
वर्ड,
क्लिक नहीं हो पा रहा है, बट देयर इज अ वर्ड.
यस.
I'll email you और WhatsApp you, okay संजना. मैं आपको WhatsApp करूंगा वो शब्द. अभी मुझे तुरंत ध्यान नहीं आ रहा है, बट वो शब्द है. तो लक्ष्मी जी, मैं आपको संजना के थ्रू इन्फॉर्म करता हूँ. आई थिंक दैट्स ओके.
Yes, thank you.
Amazing,
Thank you.
amazing. I'm actually loving the support that we're having from the audience right now. Transmenstruation is such an important topic to talk about, simply because it's important to accept everybody and respect whatever identity they choose to have. And menstruation should never be considered as a gender-based process, but always as a biological process. I think for the people who did share their stories as well, thank you so much for sharing with everybody. It definitely does make an impact. We agree that menstruation in India is considered such a big taboo, and it's so important for all of us to collectively work together to make sure that we're able to achieve menstrual equity, ensure that people are educated regarding this topic, and ensure that this discrimination, stigma, myth, stereotypes do not continue to propagate throughout all the generations. For everybody who's been asking also, like even privately, how do you get the session link? Please put down your emails below. And we will email out this particular Zoom webinar to you. This will also be put up on both the RutuChakra as well as the Transend social media pages, which is at RutuChakra on all social medias and at transend.dd. I've included it in the chat box, so please do check it out. Additionally, if any of you want to be included as a part of the mailing, the RutuChakra's mailing list, where we'll be sending educational information, etc., surrounding menstruation, and so on and so forth. You can also put in your email below, and we will contact you and reach out to you accordingly. Moving forward, is there anybody else who has any questions for Zohan or Sadhya? I mean, this is the perfect place and platform to get these clarified.
I don't. Hello, I'm Tajrin from Transend. I don't really have a question per se, but an experience and also an observation. So, as when I first got my period as a woman, the first thing my mother said to me was, "Welcome to the life of being a woman." So that was then and there decided that period is something that only happens to women. And it wasn't until many years when I first got my menstrual cup, and on that packaging I saw that period actually happens to men as well and trans men as well. So you cannot define it by something that only happens to women. And after that, after my research from that, I realized that period products that are more environmentally conscious, like menstrual cups or sustainable period products, are more aware of the fact and more inclusive in terms of their marketing and their product designs and things like that. So I would like to ask my two very brave speakers, Zohan and Sadhya, that what was your experience in terms of buying period products or the availability of it? And as we can see that these products like environmentally sustainable period products like menstrual cups, these companies are much more aware and inclusive in terms of their marketing. So my question to you is, what was your experience and how can we spread this to the regular period products that we commercially use and see more available? Because they don't advertise trans men or other people who also get periods. When we see a period ads, advertised related to sanitary napkins and such, it's always termed as something that only happens to women. But we don't see the same thing when we are seeing advertisement or descriptions of menstrual cups. So how can we merge it into the commercial space? And also, what was your experience? Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for the question. Sorry,
Yes,
Johan, go ahead. Go ahead.
I know, I was actually going to talk about like how she talked about some companies being aware of trans menstruators, and yes, it's really say a hopeful step, because like I like 2 days back I read an article like the famous period product company Always, I believe. So they had the Venus symbol in all their products, the symbol that stands for female or feminine, and they actually removed that Venus sign, that because periods do not have anything to do with gender. So yes, and then there were some other companies who are like in the process of inventing and distributing clothing, like period, which are period friendly, I guess, like menstrual cups and tampons and all that, like pants, and they had a hashtag which said like bleeding while trans. So for us, the trans community and like other organizations who are working for menstrual and reproductive rights, they should like give a shout out to these companies, and also like empower local companies, or local people who are I don't know, like linked with startups, that they could actually follow this path uh, for a better society. That's one thing. And yes, of course, trans people would feel like should go for these companies and like share the story with them as well. So they can go now.
Johan, are you done?
Yes, I'm done. I'm sorry. You can go now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Uh, actually, I would love to explain this in Hindi. Basically, I guess there are more audience in Hindi or as well. So, if someone need translation, please do let us know. First of all, trans men may be two categories here. One who has done transition and one who are happy without transitions. Okay. तो menstruations basically without transitions जो category है उनके लिए बहुत important है. So वो उन्हें ये प्रॉब्लम एवरी मंथ आती है, एंड हु आर ऑलरेडी in between the transitioning or had done, I mean completed transition, उन्हें menstruations की I mean periods नहीं आते. तो ये पता होना बहुत important है कि those who are in between the transitions also, who are not removed uterus, so they need this cup, or I can say product. They need this product. But ये समझना important है कि हार्मोनल एक्सटर्नल हार्मोनल लेने के बाद वजाइना श्रिंक होना स्टार्ट हो जाता है. तो हमने बहुत ट्राई किया है इस कप को यूज करना. There are many experiences in my group who are not comfortable with this product first of all, और normally napkin use करना ही safe हो जाता है सबके लिए. But after using napkins, उन्हें same problem again आती है. Like they cannot change those napkins in between like traveling or और किसी आउटसाइड वो किसी अगर प्रोजेक्ट पे है या काम पे है तो वहाँ चेंज नहीं कर पाते। तो ये समझना बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है आपको कि ये कब पे अगर वो पब्लिसिटी के लिए भी ये टैग लगाया जा चुका है कि वो ट्रांसमैन के लिए है, बट आई नेवर बिलीव, बिकॉज हमने ये एक्सपीरियंस किया है कि वो जो मेंस्ट्रुएशन कप है वो यूज नहीं हो पाता, बिकॉज नॉर्मल वजाइना की साइज जो होती है वो एक ही रह जाती है, बट आफ्टर टेकिंग हार्मोन्स इन माय केस और इन आवर केस वो श्रिंक हो जाती है।
Definitely. Honestly, it was so insightful hearing both of your experiences. And it really helped us understand what transmenstruation looks like from the perspective of a transmenstruator, because like many of you have pointed out, across the session, considering menstruation is also already such a taboo topic, and being transgender is even more so stigmatized. When it comes to talking about trans menstruation, it's something that many people are not ready to have the conversation about. So it's not talked about in our textbooks, in educational material, etc. So I think just hearing your perspectives and hearing directly from you what trans menstruation is, what your experiences look like, I think help individuals to understand this process even better and therefore act on it and make sure that we're more inclusive. Is there anybody else who either wants to share an experience or has any question for Sadhya or Zohan? Again, this is a perfect platform and it's a very non-judgmental platform, so it's a safe place to talk about.
I have something to say, but I hope I'm not talking too much. If everyone doesn't mind, can I go again? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. So see, my unit makes cloth pads. We've been making cloth pads since 2011. है ना? तो जो उसके अंदर जो पैम्फलेट हम लोग डालते हैं हमारे जो पोटली के अंदर, क्योंकि कपड़े का पैड हम बनाते हैं, I will need help from Sadhya to include text in the pamphlet that I will now reprint. Okay, so that is a promise.
Wonderful, amazing.
So, but उसके लिए
I feel so proud of you, ma'am. Thank you.
है ना? बिल्कुल उसके लिए मदद चाहिएगा.
Definitely.
And very soon I will take your help. I will take Rutu.
Definitely.
1 second. RutuChakra's help. ठीक है ना? So I just thought I will say that.
Thank you for thinking this much. I mean, बहुत बड़ा I think ये achievement होगा कि यहाँ beginning हो रही है. Hope is here, जैसे जोहान ने कहा था. Thank you.
This is truly amazing. Like Sadha just said, this is a beginning. This is the starting of us making such a large scale change. Thank you so much, Ms. Lakshmi, for taking this stance. Do reach out to us and we will connect you with Sadhya as well as Zohan, and we can see how to take this forward. But thank you so much. And it's really great to know that this session has had an impact on you and has given, educated you on the lines of trans menstruation. Is there anybody else who would want to has any questions or would like to share anything? Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Myself Chering. I am from the medical social worker. I have some transgender. My group, my relation, I know. But this is the first time that I am listening about the transmenstruation. It's very new topic to me, and I want to know, ma'am, what kind of health problem they are facing. And this is the biological process and medical process. After they are change their sex, their hormones, what kind of the health problem they are facing. I want to know, ma'am, just for my knowledge.
Yeah. So Zohan or Sadhya, would you like to take this question? Any of you can go first.
यहाँ पे बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम. I'll go first. In our case, वहाँ पे बहुत सारी problems है. Like लाइक हमने कहा कि हमें हमारी फैमिली एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर पाती बिकॉज ऑफ आइडेंटिटी, हम बेसिकली आइडेंटिफाई नहीं हो पाते। तो लाइक मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज से लेके हमें फिजिकल इश्यूज तक, ये जो जर्नी है इट्स अ लॉन्ग जर्नी एंड लॉन्ग बैटल, जो हर कदम पे हमें एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ता है। लाइक हमारी मेंटल स्ट्रेस, मतलब जो मेंटल हेल्थ होती है वो पूरी तरह से बैडली इम्पैक्ट हो जाती है सोसाइटी के इग्नोरेंस की वजह से। और उसके बाद धीरे धीरे ये मैस्टरबेशन होना, उसमें और ज्यादा एम्बैरेसमेंट फील होना, या फिर आई कैन से हम काफी डिप्रेस हो जाते हैं कि ये हमारे साथ क्यों हो रहा है। और ये जो स्ट्रगल है, ये सब मतलब ये जो टर्न है लाइफ का, कि पहला पीरियड आना, मतलब जैसे किसी ने यहाँ पे मेंशन किया ऑडियंस में से कि उनके लिए वो काफी प्राइड वाली मोमेंट्स होती है कि बच्ची को पीरियड्स आ गया यार फाइनली। तो उसके अपोजिट हम फील करते हैं कि ये हमें क्यों आया, तो वो एक रिग्रेट वाली फीलिंग स्टार्ट हो जाती है अपने अंदर। और दुनिया से नफरत करना स्टार्ट हो जाते हैं कि लोग समझ क्यों नहीं पा रहे, कि ये मुझे पसंद नहीं है। एंड आई माई सेल्फ ट्राइड मेनी टाइम्स, आई हैव टेकन टैबलेट्स टू स्टॉप माई पीरियड्स, और ये मुझे काफी बैडली इम्पैक्ट हुआ है मेरी हेल्थ पे। आई कैन से गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट ने एक यूट्रस निकाल दिया था मेरा, क्योंकि इन्फेक्शन इतना बढ़ गया था। तो हम इसे स्टॉप करने के लिए, मतलब ये प्रॉब्लम छोटी छोटी प्रॉब्लम लग रही है आपको, लाइक चेस्ट बाइंड करना, ये आपके लिए काफी इजी लगता होगा कि हम बस चेस्ट बाइंड करके फ्री तो हो रहा है, बट इट इज नॉट दैट मच इजी। ब्रीदिंग करने में प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है, ऐसे में अटैक्स होते हैं। लाइक वाइल टॉकिंग आप यू कैन फील कि मेरी ब्रीदिंग काफी हाई हो रही है, बिकॉज ये एज ऑफ 29 तक बाइंडिंग करके रखना चेस्ट को, इट्स नॉट अ स्मॉल डील, ठीक है। आपको उसके वजह से काफी सारे प्रॉब्लम, हेल्थ इश्यूज स्टार्ट हो जाते हैं। तो अगर आप एक अच्छी पॉजिटिव सोसाइटी ने अगर हमें आइडेंटिफाई किया होता या एक्सेप्ट किया होता, तो आज ये सारी प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं होती। और मैं भी किसी का बच्चा हूँ, मैं भी किसी का भाई हूँ, तो सोसाइटी ने ये एक्सेप्ट कर लेना चाहिए कि हम भी आप में से है, और हमें ये प्रॉब्लम, बेसिकली ये प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं है, बट ये प्रॉब्लम आप मुझे फील करा रहे हैं। मैस्टरबेशन इज नॉट माई प्रॉब्लम एट ऑल। मुझे प्रॉब्लम है सोसाइटी से, क्योंकि ये एक टैग में बिठा दिया गया है कि ये फीमेल को ही होता है। ये आपने टैग किया है। मैंने बिगनिंग में ही कहा कि मैं कम आउट हो रहा हूँ, मैं खुद कम आउट नहीं हो रहा हूँ यार, आपके वजह से मुझे कम आउट होना पड़ रहा है। मैं हूँ वही हूँ, मेरे में कोई चेंजेस नहीं है। आई आइडेंटिफाई माई सेल्फ एज नॉर्मल एज यू। मैं अगर आपको पूछूंगा सर आपने एज ए मेल अपने आप को कब आइडेंटिफाई किया, यू हैव नो आंसर्स, राइट। मैं अगर लक्ष्मी जी को पूछूं, आप प्लीज बताइए लक्ष्मी जी, आपने अपने आप को फीमेल करके कब एक्सेप्ट किया, आपके पास कोई आंसर नहीं होगा। इन द सेम वे मेरे पास कोई आंसर नहीं है कि मैंने कब एक्सेप्ट किया। तो मैं जैसा हूँ वैसे ही बढ़ रहा हूँ, बट प्रॉब्लम ये टैबू है जो मुझे सोसाइटी याद दिलाती है कि यू आर इन अ फीमेल बॉडी, आपको मैस्टरबेशन हो रहा है, आपके पास वजाइना है, यू कैन रीबर्थ अ चाइल्ड, और ये सारी आपने टैग बिठा दिए हैं वहां पे। अगर आज ये बात हो रही है ऋतु चक्रा की, आज बात हो रही है हमारी मैस्टरबेशन की, कल बात होने वाली है हमारी प्रेगनेंसी की। ट्रांस मैन और आई मीन मैन ऑल्सो कैन प्रेग्नेंट, कल इसके ऊपर भी डिस्कशन होने वाला है, विच इज नॉट अवेयर कि ट्रांस मैन भी तो बर्थ दे सकते हैं ना, दे हैव यूट्रस, दे हैव तो ये छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं जो मेरे लिए काफी बड़ी स्ट्रगल क्रिएट करती है, काफी बड़े इश्यूज क्रिएट करती है। अगर लोग आसानी से समझे तो अच्छी बात है सर, मतलब अदरवाइज मतलब आपके जैसे लोग बहुत कम है जो मुझे आके पूछेंगे कि आपकी प्रॉब्लम बताइए। तो ये प्रॉब्लम मेरी नहीं थी कभी, जो क्रिएट की है सोसाइटी ने कि यस दिस इज माय प्रॉब्लम, ये बोलने के लिए मुझे मजबूर किया जा रहा है, दैट्स ऑल।
Sorry, am I jumping in a lot? I have just one thing to say. Can I go ahead?
प्लीज
So,
प्लीज,
you know,
I'm done.
First of all, हम लोग का जैसा society है, we have to change the thinking. As both of you have been saying this, Zohan and Sadhya, you know what? I'm just really happy that you people are coming up and saying, and I'm very happy in this webinar. I was really excited for this webinar, and yeah. So what I wanted to say is, first of all, we need to क्या बोलते हैं we have to stop this thing कि हम लोग का कोई ये नहीं है. We keep on talking about equality and justice, but on the other hand, we don't give a damn about anyone. ठीक है यार, तू ये है, तू वो है, and then we are like, okay fine, अच्छा ये तो ये है, just stay away from him. मतलब face to face बहुत दिखाते हैं कि we care about you and all those things. I hope you guys are getting what I'm saying. Yeah, so face to face
Totally
वो
agree.
दिखाते हैं, oh my, I understand what are you and I'm with you and all those things. और वही लोग तुम्हारे पीठ पीछे जाके बोलते हैं यार ये पागल है, ये ऐसा करता है, ये he has his periods and all those things. So all I want to say is, we have to be as a group. Now we have just started up as a small team. And I won't call this a group, I'll call it a team, because group में groupings होता है, team एक good team होता है. So I just wish कि ये बात पूरे country को पता चले, and we will not make a big deal out of this because we are what we are. We can't change anything about it. As Sadhya said that लोग तुम्हारी ये problem बनाते हैं, तुमने अपना problem को ये नहीं बनाया है. मतलब I'm very bad at Hindi. I'm so sorry. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, so मतलब ये मेरी problem नहीं है कि मैं ये हूँ मैं वो हूँ. It's completely fine. That is how you're born. You can't do anything about it. आप फिर से reborn नहीं हो सकते हो. And all this, seriously, and Sadhya, I'm really inspired, like really inspired with both you and Zohan. I'm really inspired, and I want to thank Sanjana to be a part of RutuChakra and such an amazing organization. And meet you. It's really good to have you guys over. I'm really happy to volunteer for this cause. Really happy. I told this to my mom, and my mom was also like very supportive, unlike other family members. So yeah. I'm really happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing. Both, and I also hope Mr. Sharing, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, that your question was answered as well. And Meenakshi, thank you so much for sharing. What you said is, of course, absolutely right. It's so important for us to break this taboo and start talking about transmenstruation and menstrual inclusivity as well. Mr. Sharing, you were saying something?
Yeah, ma'am, I want to that, ma'am, ये जो इश्यूज है ट्रांसजेंडर, ये तो बहुत बाद में आएगी हमारी इंडियन सोसाइटी में, लेकिन प्रेजेंटली मैम कि ट्रांसजेंडर्स है, इनको अपने राइट्स के बारे में, अपनी जो इनकी एक्टिविटीज है डेली, वो सोसाइटी को अंडरस्टैंड कराने के लिए अपनी बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज चेंज करनी पड़ेगी. मैंने ये देखा है कि एक दो मेरे नॉन में सराउंडिंग में तो लोगों की कम्युनिटी की क्या फीलिंग है उनकी कि जस्ट दे आर डूइंग द समथिंग, नॉट डूइंग द वेरी वेल, डूइंग स्मोकिंग एंड दिस थिंग्स. तो वो जो इम्प्रेशन है उससे सोसाइटी का, तो वो इनके लिए सोसाइटी में एक प्लेस बनाने के लिए अपनी रेपुटेशन भी चेंज करने की बहुत जरूरत है कि वो भी नॉर्मल लाइफ जिए, एजुकेशन लें एंड अपनी डिमांड्स देखें, ताकि बिहेव सोसाइटी का इनके लिए बदले. आई वांट टू से बस. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. And definitely, it's so important for us to change the mindset of society. And this particular webinar was just a stepping stone into that. We really hope that, as many of you have shared, that when you all go home today, you're able to think over this topic. You're able to think over both Sadha as well as Zohan's words of wisdom, and really able to take that action within your community, educate those people who are surrounding you. Because the first way that we can change people's mindsets is by educating them, right? Talking to them about this issue, quote unquote issue, because right now, this is what the reality in India and in many parts of the world looks like today. Menstruation is a taboo. Menstrual inclusivity is not an aspect which is being considered. Transmenstruation not legitimized, right? So everybody, please, when you go home, I really urge you to start this conversation, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Start this conversation within your society. if there is any of you who want to find a way of how you can take this forward, right? Even after the session, if you're confused as to how do I make a change within my society, exactly how to go about with it, how can I use my skill sets to make a difference in this space, I've put again RutuChakra and Transend's email IDs below. Please reach out to us. We will connect you to Sadhya and Zohan, so that we can take this forward and make sure that we're working
I
together.
want to add something here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Sanjana, for interrupting. But yeah, basically, I want to add one more thing for sensitization of society. That if could you if will you able to chance to meet any transgender person and invite them for a lunch or dinner, whatever possible, or for snacks, that will be definitely make a change, I think, because you have to connect to people first. You have to, if you want to see change in your society or your area or your building, so you have to start meeting them, talking to them, and inviting them. When you start to inviting them, then it become a neutral. Make your neighbor will be ask you that how can you do this? I mean, how will you? तो आई थिंक ये बहुत ही इजी सरल तरीका है कि आपको सिर्फ बात करने से नहीं होगा, आपके एक्टिविटीज में दिखना चाहिए. जैसे सर ने कहा कि एक्टिविटीज इंपॉर्टेंट है, तो यस, एक्टिविटी कीजिए, आप उनसे बात कीजिए, इनसे इंटरेक्ट होइए, उन्हें इनवाइट कीजिए इफ पॉसिबल. सिर्फ आपके 10 रुपए देने से कुछ नहीं होगा. उन्हें उस 10 रुपए की इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं है या फिर उसकी जरूरत नहीं है. दे नीड अ जॉब, दे नीड अ अपॉर्चुनिटीज, दे नीड अ इन्विटेशन, दे नीड अ रिस्पेक्ट. They need a love. So please do this, guys.
Definitely. Actions speak louder than words. 100%. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. Zohan, I think you wanted to say something?
Yes, I wanted to include that, like for Transend, where I'm a part of Transend. So Transend has as a lifetime partner for health and hygiene, Put a Period, and Put a Period was formed by 4 of my classmates, friends, and so Transend Put a Period had a campaign recently for menstruators, like that is periods beyond gender. So as like Sadda was saying, like actions and it's like so important. Like we need to find out which organizations are going for what and support what, and we need to talk about it, not just like here, like even like talking about this issue on our social media platforms, or talking about it with our little kid or even a friend. It's important. That's and also like I'd love to meet you, Sadda. Thank you.
Same here, brother. And even one more thing is, मुझे लक्ष्मी जी को भी रिकमेंड करना है कि उनका एक खुद का बिजनेस है. जैसे वो पैड बनाती है, वैसे ही उनके कॉन्टैक्ट में देयर आर मेनी पीपल हु कैन वो भी कुछ बैंगल्स बनाते होंगे या कोई कॉस्मेटिक चीजें प्रमोट करते होंगे. तो डू रिकमेंड देम, देन इंक्लूड ट्रांस वुमेन एज वेल. हिजरा लव टू डू मेकअप. हम देखते हैं उन्हें, तो आप प्लीज उन्हें क्यों नहीं प्रमोट कर सकते? आप उन्हें भी प्रमोट कीजिए. अगर
हमारा बिजनेस नहीं है,
बनानी है जी,
बिजनेस नहीं है, महिला ग्रुप बना रही है कपड़े का पैड बहुत सालों से. बट हाँ, मैं सुन रही हूँ, मैं बिल्कुल सुन रही हूँ. आई एम नाउ. आप
उनमें भी ट्रांस वुमेन को अपॉर्चुनिटीज दे सकती है जॉब के लिए, कि आप भी आइए जॉब, मतलब आप जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज दे सकती है, आप उन्हें भी इंक्लूड कर सकती है. मे बी उनके पास सिर्फ एक ही जरिया है कमाने के लिए, सेक्स वर्क एंड सेक्स वर्क एंड सेक्स वर्क. क्योंकि आपके घर में बच्चा पैदा साल में एक बार होता होगा, उनकी कमाई साल भर वो भूखे तो नहीं रह सकते ना. तो दे नीड जॉब, दे नीड अपॉर्चुनिटीज. तो अगर आपके पास कुछ भी काम हो जो आप सोच सके कि अगर मैं किसी एक पर्सन को भी रिकमेंड कर सकूं, तो शायद उस कम्युनिटी में एक अच्छा इंटरेक्शन होगा. वो कम्युनिटी जो सोसाइटी के लिए बहुत गलत सोचती है कि कुछ नहीं मिलेगा उनसे हमें, बिकॉज मैं खुद यही एक्सपीरियंस कर रहा हूँ कि सोसाइटी से मुझे कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, इसीलिए मैं अपनी बैटल खुद ही खुद ही मतलब हम एक ग्रुपिज्म करके, लाइक मीनाक्षी जी ने कहा कि यस ग्रुपिज्म हो रहा है कि एक कम्युनिटी अलग अलग होती जा रही है. लाइक ट्रांसमैन आर डिफरेंट कम्युनिटी देन हिजड़ा अलग हो रहे हैं तो ट्रांसवुमन अलग हो जाती है. तो ये चीजें बंद हो जाए, हम सारे इंक्लूसिवली काम करें तो आई थिंक एक बेटर फ्यूचर बन सकता है.
Yes, 100%. And like you mentioned, this is kind of a call on to everybody who is in the audience even right now, who maybe has companies or works in organizations, has workplaces, etc. Firstly, to make sure that the workplaces or the places that you live in, your families, your community, firstly, take steps to make sure that they are menstrually inclusive. Whether, like it's Lakshmi ji, when it comes to menstrual products, or even anything, even if you go to a particular school, make sure that your school is taking steps towards becoming menstrually inclusive, that there are job opportunities, etc., which are offered to people. Because like mentioned before, actions do speak louder than words. It's important for us not only to talk about it, but also to act on it to ensure that we're able to achieve menstrual equity. Um, I'm opening the floor to any last questions there are, after which, since time is running out, we will be ending the webinar. So is there any last questions or statements anyone wants to give? All right. So if anybody wants to reach out to either Sadhya as well as Sohan, or you want to work to ensure that you're able to achieve transmenstruation, have any further questions, etc., please do email us rutuchakra@gmail.com or transend111@gmail.com. This particular session recording will be posted both on other social